Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Laura Train Mama. Today we are having a look at this double whammy. It's out of the Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends story, and the two stories we'll be covering are Edward, Gordon and Henry, and then Gordon off the rails. Let's go! Choo choo! Story 1, Edward, Gordon and Henry. Gordon, the big engine, always pulls the express. He is very proud of being the only engine strong enough to do so. One day, Gordon left the station with the express as usual. It was full of important people, like the Fat Controller, and Gordon was seeing just how fast he could go. "Hurry, hurry," he said. "Rickety-trock, trickety-trock, trickety-trock," said the coaches. Gordon went very fast, and soon he could see the tunnel where Henry stood bricked up and lonely. Henry had been very foolish. He had gone into the tunnel and wouldn't come out again because he was afraid that the rain would spoil his lovely green paint. The guard had blown his whistle. The firemen and passengers had argued with him. The men had pulled and pushed him, but still Henry would not move. Then, at last, they had given up. The Fat Controller had ordered the men to take up the old rails and to build a wall in front of Henry. The other engines had to use the tunnel at the other side. Now Henry wondered if he would ever pull trains again. "Oh dear, will the Fat Controller ever forgive me and let me out?" he said to himself that day. I know, poor Henry. As he watched Gordon getting closer and closer to the tunnel. "In a minute," Gordon said. "I'm going to poop, poop," at Henry and rushed through the tunnel and out again into the open. He was almost there when crack, whoosh, and suddenly there he was, going slower and slower in a cloud of steam. His driver stopped the train. "What has happened to me?" asked Gordon. "I feel so weak." "You've burst a safety valve," said the driver. "You can't pull the train anymore." "Oh dear," said Gordon. "We were going so nicely too, and look there's Henry laughing at me." All the passengers climbed out of the coaches and came to see Gordon. "Humph," said the Fat Controller. "I never like working with these big engines, always going wrong. Send for another engine at once." They uncoupled Gordon. He had just enough puff to slink slowly into the siding out of the way. The guard went back to the yard to fetch another engine. There was only Edward left in the shed. "Gordon's burst a safety valve. Can you help?" asked the guard. "I'll come and try," said Edward. When Edward and the guard arrived back at the tunnel, Gordon was very rude. "Pooh," he said. "Edward can't pull the train." But they took no notice, and Edward was coupled up behind the express. Edward puffed and pushed and pushed and puffed, but he couldn't move the heavy coaches. "I told you so," said Gordon rudely. "Why not let Henry try?" "Yes, I will," said the Fat Controller. "Henry, will you help pull this train?" he asked. "Oh yes," said Henry at once. "At last," he said to himself, "the Fat Controller has forgiven me." So Gordon's driver and the fireman lit Henry's fire. They broke down the wall and put back the rails. When Henry had built up steam, he puffed backwards out of the tunnel. He was dirty and his boiler was black. He was covered in cobwebs. Yuck. "Oof, I'm so stiff," he groaned. "Have a run to ease your joints and then find a turntable," said the Fat Controller kindly. When Henry came back, he felt much better. Then they coupled him up at the front of Gordon's coaches. "Beep, beep," said Edward. "I'm ready." "Beep, beep, beep," said Henry. "So am I." They started off. "Pull hard, we'll do it. Push hard, we'll do it," they puffed together. Slowly, the heavy coaches jerked and began to move. Then off they went, leaving Gordon alone in the siding. They went faster and faster. "We've done it together, we've done it together," said Edward and Henry. "You've done it, hooray, you've done it, hooray," sang the coaches. All the passengers were excited. The Fat Controller leaned out of the window to wave to Henry and Edward, but the train was going so fast that his hat blew off into a field where a goat ate it for tea. Oh. The engines didn't stop, until they came to the station at the end of the line. All the passengers climbed out and thanked Henry and Edward. The Fat Controller was very pleased. He promised Henry a new coat of paint. On their way home, Edward and Henry helped Gordon back to the shed. All 3 engines are now great friends. Henry doesn't mind the rain anymore. He knows that the best way to keep his paint looking nice is not to run into the tunnels, but to ask his driver to rub him down when the day's work is over. That brings us to the end of that first story, and we are jumping straight into story number 2. Gordon off the rails. Gordon was resting in a siding. Sometimes when he was resting, he would say to himself, It's really very tiring to be such a large and splendid engine. One does have to keep up appearances so. At that moment, Henry came by. Peep, 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 peep. Hello, fat face, whistled Henry. Gordon had not seen Henry for some time. What a cheek, he spluttered. That Henry is getting too big for his wheels. Fancy speaking to me like that. Me, he went on, letting off steam. Me, who has never had an accident. Percy heard Gordon's last remark, and he knew it wasn't true. Aren't burst safety valves accidents? Asked Percy innocently. Gordon was very cross. He didn't like being teased, and he knew Percy was talking about the time when he, Gordon, had pulled the express too fast and he had burst a safety valve. No, indeed. High spirits might happen to any engine, replied Gordon huffily. But come off the rails like Henry did when he was pulling the flying kipper? Well, I ask you, he went on. Is it right? Is it decent? A few days later, it was Henry's turn to take the express. Gordon watched him, getting ready. Be careful, Henry, he said. You're not pulling the flying kipper now. Mind you, keep on the rails today. Henry snorted away. Gordon yawned and went to sleep. But he didn't sleep for very long. Wake up, Gordon, said his driver. A special train is coming in, and we're going to pull it. Is it coaches or trucks? Asked Gordon sleepily. Trucks, said his driver. Trucks, said Gordon crossly. Pah! The men lit Gordon's fire and oiled him, ready for the run. He needed to go on the turntable first so that he would be facing the right way. His fire was slow to start and wouldn't burn. They couldn't wait, so Edward was called to help Gordon to the turntable. I won't go, grumbled Gordon. Don't be silly, puffed Edward. At last, Gordon was on the turntable. Edward was uncoupled and he backed away. Gordon's driver and the fireman jumped down to turn him around. The movement had shaken Gordon's fire so that it was soon burning nicely. Gordon was cross. He didn't care what he did. He waited until the table was halfway round. Then his chance came. I'll show them, he hissed. He moved slowly forward. He only meant to go a little way, just far enough to jam the turntable and stop it turning. But his plan was going wrong. He couldn't stop himself. He slithered and slipped off the rails, down the embankment and settled in a ditch. Whoosh, he hissed. Get me out, he called. His driver and fireman came to see him. Not a hope, said his driver. You're stuck, you silly great engine. Don't you understand that? They telephoned the Fat Controller and he could see Gordon from his window. So Gordon didn't want to take the special train of trucks and ran into a ditch, he answered from his office. What's that you say? He went on. The special's waiting. Well, tell Edward to take it, please. And Gordon? Oh, leave him where he is. We haven't time to bother with him now. So there was Gordon, stuck in the ditch. Over on the other side, some little boys were chattering. Coo, they called. Doesn't he look silly? They'll never get him out. Then the boys began to sing. Silly old Gordon fell in a ditch, fell in a ditch, fell in a ditch. Silly old Gordon fell in a ditch, all on a Monday morning. Gordon lay in the ditch all day. Oh dear, he thought, I shall never get out. But that evening the men brought floodlights. They used powerful jacks to lift Gordon, and they made a road of sleepers under his wheels to keep him out of the mud. Strong wire ropes were fastened to his back end, and James and Henry, pulling hard, at last managed to bring Gordon back on the rails. Late that night, Gordon crawled home, sadder and a wiser engine. I hope you enjoyed reading those 2 stories with me today, and if you did, please don't forget to hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Have a great day now.